30 employers from various industries will be there. Once again, the Career Fair, Friday morning, June 14th, on the Murfreesboro Civic Plaza. Those are WGNS Good Neighbor events.
This segment has been sponsored by the local Edward Jones office of Lee Colvin. The host of this show and Edward Jones have an existing business relationship. This event is not a testimonial of the services provided by Edward Jones financial advisor Lee Colvin.
Rutherford Issues with Brian Barrett on FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna, and streaming at WGNSradio.com.
Rutherford Issues, powered by Middle Tennessee Electric. MTE's charitable foundation, Sharing Change, is funded by members who round up their electric bills to the nearest dollar each month as a donation and support hundreds of nonprofits. Find out more at sharingchange.org. Time to bring in Edward Jones financial advisor Lee Colvin, fresh off of Memorial Day. Hot dogs, hamburgers, sunburn, all goes good with Memorial Day, right, Lee?
Oh, my goodness, Brian, it was fantastic. Yes. What an amazing day, beautiful day, and luckily I think we may not have a few rainy days for a few until this next weekend. So
yeah, we
might have a pretty week ahead.
Looking forward to that for sure, and not as hot as it could be in May. So we'll take it, and hope you and everybody had a great Memorial Day and back at it. It's kind of the unofficial start to summer, so hope yours is going well so far. Today we are going to talk with Lee about estate plans, and Lee, you sent me a little message that said, should estate plans be equal or fair? That's what we're going to discuss here today, I guess, right?
Always such a fun conversation to have, Brian. When you're creating an estate plan, your biggest priority may be taking care of your family, your spouse, your grown children, your grandchildren, and other loved ones that you have. But as you think of where you want your assets to go, you also may be thinking about how to be fair. But is that the same as treating everyone equally? And that can be a difficult question to answer, but one that definitely needs to be answered.
Yeah, well, I know, with raising kids, if I got Dalton one thing, I had to get Bobby something similar or the same thing. They always, when we would pray for dinner, they would argue about who got to do it. So we said, you both just do it. So we were trying to figure out those kind of things. So I guess, we kind of talked to them about equal doesn't always mean fair. And I bet that's the same thing in estate planning too, right?
It does. And now that's where we want to kind of bring or explain some of the differences there, Brian.
So we're going to talk about need, abilities, and practicality today with estate plans. So let's tackle need first.
Well, so when you're looking at this, it's highly unlikely that the individuals that you want to include in your estate plan, especially your adult children, have the same family and financial situations, right? Mm-hmm. Not everyone is equal, even within the family. For example, you could have one child who is extremely successful and has no children of their own, while another child, they may earn less income and support 3 children. Granted, in their own way, they are being extremely successful, but just in a very different way, right?
Mm-hmm.
And with these 2 adult children, you have vastly different financial needs. So you need to consider whether you want to treat them equally or fairly. If you decide you want to treat them fairly, then you may want to divide your assets in a way that provides more help to the child who needs the help most.
Very true. Very true. Okay. So we talk about need there. maybe discuss abilities. What do you mean by abilities?
Well, so, you may well have some assets that you believe are more suitable for one child over another. And this can especially be true if you're planning on passing on a family business. If you know that one child is most capable of running the business or has been primarily invested in the business, then you may want to give that child control as a next generation owner. Yet this may not seem fair to another child who might also express interest in the business. So you may want to look for ways to provide this child with enough assets to help make the overall inheritance more equal.
Okay. Good thoughts there on that. The examples are certainly helping a lot to help us kind of understand that. We're talking with Edward Jones financial advisor Lee Colvin about should your estate plans be equal or fair. So the last point that we're kind of going to talk about here is practicality. So is it practical to be equal or fair, or how does that work? So Lee, what are your thoughts there?
Brian, again, seeing this often, in some instances, you might think that you can meet both the fair and equal criteria. Suppose, for instance, that you have a cabin or other vacation home that you think two of your children could share. In theory, the joint ownership might sound good, but in practical terms, it could cause some problems within the family. One, are both children equally willing and capable of paying taxes and upkeep on the cabin or vacation home? What if one child, Brian, wants to sell their share of the home and does not want to be a part of that vacation home or that cabin or whatever else the assets might be? And then there's the question of who gets to use the property at various times of the year. All of these issues should be resolvable, but they can also cause great stress within the family long term.
Well, if I've learned anything from today and from many of our previous conversations that we've had over the over 15 years that you and I've been doing this, there's really no formula. There's no cookie cutter approach. There's no this works and this is the way you have to do it. No simple formula for fair versus equal dilemma here that we've been talking about.
Absolutely. While there is no formula out there for that, we do want to make sure that you keep this in mind, Brian. Communicating your wishes to your loved ones while you're drawing up your estate plan can help reduce confusion. And hopefully it can lead to fewer hard feelings down the road when you may no longer be around.
Yeah.
Right? By their nature, fairness and equality issues related to estate plans, they can trigger a range of emotions, and addressing these feelings beforehand can really help provide a great service for your loved ones. This is something that I've been dealing with even the last couple of days with different clients. And it's a tough conversation to have, but it's a highly rewarding conversation for folks to have.
Yeah. I know a lot of people out there maybe have dealt with it. I know I've dealt with a couple of estates, and just to know that up front would make a huge, huge difference. And you gave some examples today where obviously if that were just done, they may not understand why you had those wishes. So communicating those, out front is really huge. And, you might also be able to find that objectivity can be valuable in these situations and talking about it beforehand.
Oh, certainly. And that's why when creating your estate plan, you may benefit by working with a team of professionals. I know you and I are discussing this often, but, working with your legal team, your estate planning attorneys, working with your financial team, your CFPs like myself or other folks at Edward Jones, and your tax advisors, your CPAs, and other qualified professionals on that end. It does take a whole team to help keep you on track, try to preserve and protect, but also get you to the right goal that you're working toward.
Lee, you mentioned, professionals like yourself, financial advisors, and I'm sure that if someone has questions or is really working toward this and need to look at the financial side of that you or any of the Edward Jones financial advisors here in Rutherford County would be more than happy to talk with them and take that up with them.
Brian, we would love the opportunity to do that. When you're developing that estate plan, you try to strive for equality and fairness above all. You want to get things right, and careful planning, open communication, and appropriate guidance can definitely help get you a long way toward that goal. But you're absolutely right. Please, if anybody has questions, they can give us a call at my office. We can either help you ourselves, or depending on your individual situation, we may be able to find a financial advisor with Edward Jones that may be more appropriate to fit your needs. You can give us a call at 615-907-7056. Again, that's 615-907-7056. We'd love to help.
Lee, as always, thanks so much for being a part of the show today. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Brian. Have a wonderful week.
You too. Edward Jones financial advisor Lee Colvin joining us today on the show.
Motherhood to me is everything.
They have no days off. They're so resilient, so strong, and so underrated.
They are 24/7 on call.